we will be free. For when the rising tide is turned in every London quarter, Parliament comes crashing down with Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, here we go. April the 15th. What normally would be Taxation is Theft Day.
Ooh.
However, due to the current pandemic and the attached insanity that comes with it, the government has decided to postpone that until July 15th. So when we get to July 15th, we will revisit that little theme. But in any case, this is not about, the question is not about taxes.
Thank God.
But I'll ask the question anyway. Taxation is...
Microphone number 3.
Point of inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
Point of inquiry, go ahead.
Is taxation theft?
Taxation is theft.
An appeal may be made from A, a banana.
I'm a banana! What happened to your clothes? I'm a banana! I'm a banana! I'm a banana! I'm a banana! Look at me, man!
No, I'm kidding. A, the chair's answer to a parliamentary inquiry. B, a ruling by the chair. C, the chair's announcement of the result of the vote. D, an opinion expressed by the chair. If you can't get this one right.
Oh, it's B. But some of the other ones were interesting, but it's definitely B.
It was obviously B.
Yeah. But
I mean, that's so obvious, not even funny.
The vote one was interesting. Because I guess in that circumstance, they would have to challenge the result of the vote, then the chair makes a ruling on the vote, and then there can be an appeal from the ruling.
Right.
And one thing I want to bring up, because you'll sound like you know what you're talking about. When you're in an assembly and you do want to appeal, do not say appeal the ruling of the chair, or you want to have an appeal of the ruling of the chair. Always say from the ruling, and it will make it sound like you know your shit.
Appeal from the ruling?
It's always appeal from the ruling of the chair. It's not appeal of the ruling of the chair.
Well, most of the people just say I appeal the ruling of the chair without the from or of. Yeah.
I either say, if you say from, you sound like you know your shit, because anyone who knows what they're doing will say, aha.
Okay. In any case, prepositions aside, we are on page 292, or excuse me, I'm sorry. No, 259. What the hell is I reading? 259, 1 to 12, 250. Oh, good God, this is all over the damn place. It starts at 256, 27 to 36. There's multiple pieces here.
Okay.
Okay. Dogs not included. Okay, this is the standard descriptive characteristics of an appeal.
But go to, line 10 there, and you'll see the language that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Makes a ruling. Chair makes a ruling from which he appeals. Yeah. Okay. Down to 27. Excuse me. 2 can be applied to any ruling by the presiding officer, except that A, if a point of order is raised while an appeal is pending, there is no appeal from the chair's decision on the point of order, although the correctness of the ruling can be brought up later by a motion covering the case. That's interesting.
That is.
That's very interesting. B, when the chair rules on a question about which there cannot possibly be two reasonable opinions, an appeal would be dilatory and is not allowed. Okay, that's the first part of this.
Let's stop there for a second. Yeah. I want to talk about that interesting thing. Okay, so the chair can fuck up as much as they want during the appeal, and you can't make a point of order at that point, which is interesting because this came up, and and Nick didn't know this. I didn't know it, because remember when that whole whether or not we were going to refuse the membership fees of that prisoner. There was an issue during the appeal, and Nick asked, are you going to now appeal from the appeal because this is going to go nowhere fast? But actually, he could have said, "Too bad, so sad, sucks to be you," because that's not allowed. Interesting. I'm glad we saw that.
I figure out how to make the lighting better for my ankle. I had to put the light on in the room because I couldn't read the damn book. Back to this point, though, it's interesting because, yeah, you're right. I mean, the point of order basically says that, if they raise it while the appeal is pending.
And if it's about the appeal, it's foreclosed. If it's about a later motion, you could bring it up later when that motion is pending.
No, it says the correctness of the ruling can be brought up later by a motion covering the case. Well, I'm reading that to say that if you raise it, if someone makes an appeal from the chair, from the ruling of the chair, and then in the middle of doing that appeal, a point of order is raised. The chair decides that point of order, but you can't appeal that at that time. But you can bring it up after everything's resolved and as a different motion back to the fact. So basically, it's setting. You have the ability to set it aside and come back to it if something's totally honky and out of whack.
But you can only, but you can't do it at the time. This is somewhat confusing, but at least we know you can't do it at the time.
Okay, that was the first part of all this. Now here's the second part. I'm gonna lean into this here. That was 256. 258, 33 to 35. And this section says, further rules and explanation, applicability limited to rulings. As explained in Standard Characteristic 2, an appeal is applicable only to a ruling by the chair.
Right.
Which we just discussed. So it just refers back to what we just mentioned.
Right.
The third quote is the top of the next page.
So, but for instance, in that platform thing we were talking about with the time limits, somebody had asked me about that as a parliamentary inquiry, and I said no, but they couldn't appeal that answer. They had to wait till they actually moved to add time limits. I ruled it out of order. Then they could appeal from the ruling. You can't appeal from an opinion because it has no teeth yet. It's not enforced at that point.
Yeah. Okay, it's not top of the next page. No appeal can be made from the chair's response to a parliamentary inquiry or other query, since such a reply is an opinion, this is what you're talking about, rendered by the chair, not a ruling on a question that has actually arisen. For example, if an answer to a parliamentary inquiry, the chair states that a certain motion would be out of order at the time, this reply is not subject to appeal, but the point can be put at issue before the assembly by making the motion despite the chair's opinion, and when he rules the motion out of order, appealing the chair's decision.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what I was talking about.
Well, it is. So basically, you can make a parliamentary inquiry, and if you don't like what the answer is, you can still make the motion. The chair rules out of order. You can appeal the ruling from the chair, and away we go. So there's even a way around that issue if you exercise it.
Right. And there can even be like a long gap in time there because the parliamentary inquiry was made 2 meetings before anyone actually pursued it. Oh, here's interesting, though. Read the next section. I didn't know this. The next paragraph.
The chair's judgment as to the more numerous side in a vote, or whether there are 2/3 in the affirmative, also is not a ruling and is not subject to appeal. Asterisk. If a member doubts the correctness of such an announced vote, however, they should call for division or move that the vote be counted. Asterisk. If the chair made a procedural error in declaring a motion adopted or lost, for example, in declaring that a motion which received a majority vote but not a 2/3 was adopted when a 2/3 vote was required under the rules, a point of order may be raised to that effect. That happens every once in a while.
Yeah, but it's interesting that declaring the result isn't a ruling. I think it is a ruling, but it's.
I think it is too.
Yeah, but the way I would word this if I were writing this, but I'm not, is that it's a ruling, but there's a different remedy, and that remedy is division rather than appeal.
But we have had cases where they say, oh, the motion passes, and we're like, no, it's 2/3. Like, oh, yeah, it is 2/3. No, we don't have that.
Right.
It does happen every once in a while. Any case, interesting stuff on this stuff. That's for sure.
Is there more lines or that's it?
That was it.
Okay, awesome. All
So,
right.
So is there so the ruling from the chair is I think we're adjourned. Is there an appeal?
No appeal. Bye-bye.
Viva! Let's hear the opposition side. Like a stubborn donkey's bray. All opposed? You say nay. Opposed! Opposed! The motion carries anyway.